Your Excellencies, ambassadors who are here with us, Your Excellency, the UN Director, Madam Saude, various observer groups, civil society, staff of IBC present. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me to express my gratitude to the organizers of this function, and especially the media fraternity, for being part of the arrangement of today's meeting. And I wish to acknowledge all the actors who made this day to be what it is today. We are here 10 days to election, and as a commission, we've done our very best to make sure that Kenyans get a free, fair, and credible election come the 8th of August this year. I'm indeed pleased and honored to be here today to give you an update on the IBC preparedness for the upcoming elections. As you are aware, preparations are ongoing, and I'm confident that the 8th August election will come and we shall deliver on our mandate. I also wish to inform you today that the Commission, cognizant of both operational and technological risks it may face during the upcoming general election. Since I came in office in January with my commissioners, we have got various visitations from all stakeholders, and most of you in this room have indeed engaged with us. And one of the major concerns you have is questions ranging from issues of preparations of elections to risk management, and especially whether elections will be rigged. That's the question that you ask. And I thought today I must share with you and the whole country 12 issues which I consider very important, which are concerns I've picked from you, from the social media, from the media in general, from the public, as to what constitutes the risks involved in elections in our country, and what measures IBC has taken to ensure that come the 8th of August this year, we shall have a free, fair, credible, and peaceful election. Peaceful before, during, and after the elections. So, fellow Kenyans, allow me to highlight the risks and explain to you why this will not occur in the 2017 elections. Risk number one, whether dead voters will vote. This is a question that has been asked many times. I want to assure the country that the issue of dead voters coming to vote is not there at all. This is because we have a KIMS technology that will identify voters biometrically. The IBC has put in place a foolproof system that will not only identify voters biometrically, but will also ensure that the ones who are passed on will not turn up on the August 8th election. The KIMS technology will identify and transmit election results, and the same technology will authenticate voters, check voter turnout, transmit results, and stem any election fraud. The KIMS is of course a more efficient, improved system than the version used in the 2013 elections. The system will identify voters biometrically, alphanumerically, and through the reading of the MRZ code that's the voters' biodata. This code is found in one's identity card, although biometric identification will be the first option, but if biometric identification fails, then the use of an alphanumeric system would be applied. That's if the voter is not identified biometrically. Now, this is only in cases if you can't be identified biometrically, or in case where the name is missing in the register. We have put in measures that is supplementary system of voting, which is alphanumeric, and we are aware from the audit carried out by KPMG that this number of people who don't have biometrics are known. We have 5,300 people whose biometrics are not known, and those are the people we expect to come and be identified through complementary system. Another issue that is important is that the risk of stuffing of ballot papers is an issue that I've been asked about. Will there be stuffing of ballot papers, and how do we manage that risk? In case of fraud or attempts by voters to vote twice, the device, of course, will be able to alert us, thus barring the said person from voting twice. So if you can't vote twice, then you'll not have a chance to cast your vote, to vote more than once, which means you can only be entitled to the 6 ballot papers for the 6 respective positions. Individuals will not be able to vote in areas where they do not register as voters. The device will be in operation with a maximum of 24 hours battery. That is, the device itself has a battery power of 12 hours, and we have power backup lasting 12 hours. So issues of power reduction or malfunction will not be there. The device will bar any malpractice at the voting station, for it will be transmitting voter turnout from each polling station to our central database every 3 hours, thus showing the number of voters who have turned up. Once identified, the device will also show the period taken, capture the state of the election, the time of voting, polling center code, polling center label, number of registered voters in a polling station, and the number of authenticated voters. IBC will therefore be able to monitor the number of authenticated voters and tally their votes cast. The passwords to access the device would only be issued to the authorized officers when the electoral materials are dispersed. So those are the measures in place insofar as that is concerned. I want to talk about identification of voters and crossing out the register at the polling station. The Commission has approved a procedure which includes the following. That's procedure on verification. The default method of voter identification is biometrics. So step number 1, the voter will place their finger on the KIMS fingerprint scanner. Number 2, the KIMS will then identify the voter by retrieving the image and the details. Once identified, the clerks will call out the name of the voter loudly. The voter proceeds to be issued with ballots. What happens in the event the voter cannot be identified using biometrics? In the event the voter's details are not retrieved using biometrics in the first instance, the clerk will allow the voter to make 3 attempts, a maximum of 3 attempts. If the details are not retrieved in the 3rd attempt, the clerk will proceed to undertake an alphanumeric search using the ID of the voter, the name, date of birth, or by scanning the barcode on the identification document. That's an ID or passport. Where the voter may be identified using the biometric after the alphanumeric search, in which case the clerk should now revert to the default procedure. That is, once identified, the machine will demand that you put your finger, again for purpose of biometric, because you have been identified. And in the event that you cannot be identified biometrically again, then you'll be allowed to proceed to vote using the 3rd step. That is, a form will be filled, signed by the agents for all the parties present, plus the presiding officer, plus the applicant, and that's the only time you'll now be allowed to vote using the complementary system. So all the steps are there. This will be published and Kenyans will have a chance to prepare and be educated on how to proceed. A third risk which I want to talk about is collusion that may occur, or what we have been told that can occur between political parties and ballot paper printers. We have been told that there's possibility of printing extra ballot papers. As we speak, our team is in Dubai, accompanied by civil society, the media, representatives of presidential candidates, including NASA, and they have shared a packaging list of the 290 pallets of presidential ballot papers which will be transported from Dubai to Nairobi. That is, they have shared the packing list which shows the 290 pallets, and will be dispatched here, and they'll be free also to view the same pallets when they do arrive in Nairobi. On arrival, a thorough monitoring unit and audit of all the ballot papers or ballots shall be conducted. We shall then conduct noting of ballot serial numbers at the national warehouse, at the constituency and polling stations, and reconcile them after voting. Political parties are required to post party agents in all the polling stations. As you are aware, there are rumors going around the social media that ballots can be forged. Today I want to assure you that the ballot papers which we have printed for this election are very advanced in features, and that will make it impossible to duplicate, and they are not prone to any form of ballot stuffing in view of the measures which I have outlined above. The other risk I want to talk about, which we have been told and have been told many times, is the risk of erroneous tabulation of results. In order to ensure transparency, and this is a solution which we have, in order to ensure transparency in the manner in which election results are managed, the IEBC has developed the election results management framework which clarifies the procedure of results management at each step and provides comprehensive guide with respect to the process of managing results. The guidelines were published today in the newspapers. I saw page 17 of the Daily Nation, and we shall follow these guidelines to the letter for effective management of the results. The following measures have been put in place, and I just want to summarize because they have already been published. At the polling station, after tallying and announcing of the results at the polling station, the presiding officer, in the presence of party agents, shall key in the KIMS tablet the results captured in Form 34A, scan Form 34A using the KIMS tablet, confirm that the typed results and the scanned results are accurate and same, electronically transmit the results to the constituency tallying center and the national tallying center. Form 34A, which are results from polling stations, shall be made available on an online portal. And that will also mean it will be made available to the public. The media will have a link, and any Kenyan can access those results. The results, the returning officer at the constituency tallying center will receive all the Form 34As. He will collect the results from Form 34A and prepare Form 34B, announce the results of the presidential election in that constituency. And then he scans Form 34B and sends it to the National Tallying Center, which will be here at Bomas. So we have results at polling station which are final. We shall have results at constituency from the constituency tallying center, which are also final. And so when the results reach here at the National Tallying Center, we shall be receiving 290 Form 34Bs from the 290 constituencies for the presidential candidates. So we shall already be receiving final results here at the Bomas. So in accordance with the laws which we have, I mean the Court of Appeal decision, the Commission has set in process the following processes. One, the scanned Form 34Bs from the constituency returning officer shall be received by our officers here. We have designated 2 officers to receive those forms. The forms shall be authenticated by the said officers in the presence of the chief agents of all the candidates. For purposes of authentication, the chief agents of the candidates for presidential candidates will be here at Bomas. Once authenticated, the forms will be serialized, the received form, and hand over the same to a collation team, and we shall have a team of 6 desks here for purposes of receiving results from the 47 counties. So the collation team will generate Form 34C, which is the final form for purposes of presidential results, and hand over the same to the validation team. The validation team verifies the Form 34C to ensure it's complete, accurate as far as the results from the 290 constituencies are concerned. And once verified, the Form 34C will be handed over to the chairman, who will use the same to declare the final results of presidential elections. We shall deploy a results management team to ensure correct tabulation of results. We shall also ensure concurrence with party agents to any results which are issued at all levels of the results announcements. And the whole idea is to have transparency and ensure that all parties involved will be satisfied with the results before transmission. One issue I want to talk about is the failure of integrated management system. What happens if the system fails? It is a system, first of all, is off-grid, is not connected at the polling station, so you can never have a situation where massive failure occurs. But if there's a failure, it will be in isolated cases. The Kenya Integrated Management System acquired will work at an optimum capacity as comprehensive training has been done to all our staff to avoid any issue of technology failure. KIMS devices were acquired having a dual SIM capacity, hence the ability to minimize downtimes occasioned by weak internet connectivity by automatically picking the strongest network available in a given location while transmitting results. The Commission has acquired a primary and secondary data center to mitigate the risk of systematic failures triggered by technological hitches while relaying results to the National Tallying Center. That is primary server, if it fails, secondary server kicks in on real time. And so we can never have a situation where systems stop. The Commission has invested a lot in redundancy in terms of back-end data processing. And the Commission has conducted testing and simulation is going on, but the major exercise will be done involving all stakeholders, the media, the civil society, on the 31st of July this year. That's when we shall do a major testing, simulation test of the system for purposes of results transmission. What happens in result transmission if there's failure due to network? And we have been told there are rumors that the internet may disappear on that day. Of course, those are unfounded rumors. But this is a serious risk which we cannot ignore as a Commission. The Commission, together with the Communication Authority of Kenya and telecom companies, must work together and ensure that results transmission on election day happens without failure. In the previous occasion, we used one service provider, but this time the Commission has brought on board 3 service providers, the major service providers in the country, to ensure that there's a seamless transmission of results. And in areas where there's no internet or weak internet, the Commission has made provision for satellite transmission. We, of course, cognizant of eventualities, and we have also provided for satellite backup in all the 290 constituencies, tallying centers, and the 47 county tallying centers. So all those measures have been taken. You are all aware of the Court of Appeal judgment that has made changes in our system of results management. And in that regard, allow me to highlight a few areas that were affected, which I've already mentioned. One, that the Court of Appeal, and we agree with it, that the polling station is the true locus for the free exercise of the voters' will, and the results at the polling stations are final. So that these results at each polling station are counted, tabulated, and the outcome of that tabulation is announced without delay by the presiding officer. The electronic transmission of election results in a prescribed form is a critical way of safeguarding the accuracy of that outcome. And the Court of Appeal also emphasized that the aspect that is not mandatory for returning officers to come from the various constituencies, 290 constituencies, trooping to Nairobi to the National Tallying Center to hand over hard copies of those results. And that's why we are saying the scanned results will come, and we shall deal with those scanned results after verifying. Verifying team will of course have the opportunity to ensure that these results have been sent from those particular returning officers, even if it means calling the returning officers, ensuring that the results are from those particular returning officers before the verification and announcement is made. So the role of the National Tallying Center is of course to verify that the winning candidate in the presidential election has obtained 50% plus 1, and that the candidate has obtained at least 25% of the votes in at least the 24 counties. The results received from the returning officer cannot be changed or varied by the Commission at the National Tallying Center. And the same principle also applies to the returning officer at the constituency. He cannot change the results received from the presiding officer at the polling station. So those measures are there, and as a result of which the Commission has put them in place. And as I mentioned earlier, the Form 34S, that is the form from the presiding officer at the polling station, will be filled and announced. Then the Form 34B will be filled at the constituency and announced, and then the National Tallying Center will proceed to complete the results and fill Form 34C and declare the winner. And the results, of course, will be accessed by all Kenyans before they reach here. The media will have them, the members of the public will have them, the political parties will have the results. So the role of the chairman is to announce the final results. But I've seen from the social media and many Kenyans saying we want the chairman to announce results from the constituents as they come. They'll already have been announced anyway, but if Kenyans say so, then we shall also announce them, but we shall merely be repeating what the media said and what the other actors already know. But that is the system in place, and that is just to ensure that there is transparency and that nothing is changed in that seamless process. I want to address the issue of which has come to my desk also, hacking of IEBC servers. There are many people who say, are you ready? There are people who can hack your system. As a commission, I'm alive to possibilities of cyber attacks on the IEBC systems. We have put in place cybersecurity measures to safeguard the systems from hacking. We have engaged cybersecurity experts to ensure that we protect our systems from hacking by putting in place a parallel backup system, also known as hot site. Any person found interfering with the systems will be dealt with by the full force of the law. Another issue that's crucial is security and order at polling stations. If there's disorder at polling stations, of course it can have an impact on the type of outcome expected. If people are disturbed, voters are harassed, of course we shall not have a proper outcome of what's expected to be a free and fair election. In collaboration with other agencies, including the National Police Service, Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, NCIC, IPOA, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, and other agencies, the Commission is working to ensure that there is security and peace before, during, and after polling. We are involved in the training of police officers and special police officers who will be deployed during the general election. The training covers election security and election laws in general and election offences in particular. And in that regard, the Commission shall deploy at least 2 security officers per polling station across the country. The role of these officers will be to secure election materials as well as maintaining order at the polling station. While working at the polling station, these officers will be under the leadership of the presiding officers. So it's not the police taking charge of polling stations, it is IBC and his team taking charge of the process, and the officers are under the command of the presiding officers at the polling stations, and respectively at the tallying centers they are under the returning officers respectively. Without the staff, of course we cannot do this, and when you have staff, the issue of transparency and accountability of staff is crucial. On election day, IBC will be deploying 360,000 members of staff ranging from presiding officers, clerks, that's at the level of the polling station, to man our 40,883 polling stations. We shall also have our 290 returning officers at constituencies and their deputies, 47 county returning officers and their deputies, and other staff ranging from ICT to logistics staff and a whole range of them. Now, why do I talk about staff? Because they are crucial in the management of elections, and we have, as a commission, trained our staff starting 2 months ago on how to manage technology, how to manage matter selection in all areas. Our staff will be transparent. They will explain whatever processes are being done in relaying of results. We shall have live screens here at Bomas and in all the tallying centers countrywide, where results will be displayed. And therefore, by the time Bomas gets the results, Kenyans will already be knowing most of the results by that time. We have had meetings, I've spoken to our staff and reminded them that they have signed a code of conduct and they must live by that code of conduct. They have been trained and they know the consequences, that if they breach the code of conduct and the electoral offences, they'll be prosecuted like any other Kenyan. And this time round, the Electoral Offences Act has very strict fines. In fact, I think the minimum fine is 1 million shillings and 1 year imprisonment. As a commission, we shall not protect a staff who make Kenyans not have a free, fair and credible elections. And our staff are very cognizant of that fact. Spoiled votes. What happens in that area. As a commission, we want to ensure that we have as few spoiled votes as possible. And that's why Commissioner Margaret mentioned voter education, which is ongoing. It has been launched countrywide. We have 2 voter educators in our 1,450 county assembly wards. So in each of them we have 2 voter educators who have been recruited, trained, and deployed. We have a further 290 and 47 constituency and county voter education coordinators who have been deployed to ensure quality of voter education delivery. The Commission has deployed, produced and distributed information and education communication materials all over the country. The Commission staff are very much involved in this, and most of them have been on TV stations, radio and public gatherings disseminating information related to voter education. All these activities are to ensure that voters are familiar with the voting process. And there's also a program targeting the youth insofar as voter education is concerned. So all these processes have been put in place to ensure that the country gets a free, fair election come the 8th of August this year. And there is no room for rigging the upcoming general elections slated on the 8th of August. On 20th of January this year, when I took oath of office, I made a commitment to you Kenyans that I'm equal to the task. My commission and staff under my leadership have worked every single day to ensure that we deliver a free, fair and credible election. You can trust that IEBC will do our part, and we have done our part to ensure that Kenyans get what they deserve, and I urge all of you to also do your part. So each of us have a role to play. To the politicians campaigning, please campaign peacefully. You are bound by the Code of Conduct. As a commission, we have our Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee, which is in place, and we shall not hesitate to crack the whip on those who cause violence, who want to destroy posters of their opponents and create insecurity in the country. To the media, both local and international, and also social media, please have responsible reporting and dissemination of information to the people of Kenya. To the local and national observers and civil society, the church, we have engaged with you, and we appreciate your initiatives in taking concern and also sharing information, which IEBC and my commission really appreciates. And to Kenyans, I urge you to turn up in large numbers to exercise your right to vote. And in the words of Louis Amar, the American author, I quote, "To make democracy work, we must be a nation of participants, not simply observers." And after you have voted, I urge you, Kenyans, to maintain peace. Thank you very much. God bless you. And let's have a peaceful general election come the 8th of August this year. Asante.